Hello, my name is Jenna and I am here to give you guys another book review, and today we're going to be talking about Crooked Kingdom by Leigh Bardugo. If you don't know, this is the sequel to Six of Crows, which was a huge big release last year. Huge big. And this was one of the most anticipated reads of 2016 for a lot of people. For me, it was average. I kind of knew it was coming out, and then it came out and I bought it the day of, and I was really surprised at myself. This is set in the Grisha world, just like the Grisha trilogy. If you haven't read Crooked Kingdom or Six of Crows and you clicked on this accidentally, please go and read the trilogy and then read the duology, because there's so many things you'll miss if you don't read the trilogy first. So go do that and then read Six of Crows and come back and we can talk about this one. And if you don't know what Six of Crows is about specifically, it's a heist type book. It was marketed as Game of Thrones meets like Ocean's 11 or Ocean's 13 or whatever the Ocean's movies numbers are. And obviously this is the sequel. And so I can't really say much about it if you haven't read at least the first one. So, okay, spoilers if you haven't read the first one, go read it. This second book, we are obviously trying to get Inej back because she was captured and they're still trying to get their money, and I'm gonna be real honest with you guys. This was a struggle to get through because I did not reread the first book. So if you haven't read the first one in a while and you're like, I'm just gonna pick up Crooked Kingdom because YOLO, don't do that. You will miss a lot of things and you'll be really bad at yourself like me. So upset at me, really. However, that being said, it was still a phenomenal book, great series, super cool duology. I love Leigh Bardugo. She's like the bae. She's so great. She's wonderful. I actually got to go to her signing for this. It's signed. And if you don't know what the NMNF, it's no mourners, no funerals. So this is it. This is Crooked Kingdom. My rating, I think I gave it 4 stars on Goodreads because, like I said, it's a lot. Without having reread the first one, I felt really lost. And honestly, the thing about these books that I don't like is that they do have such a complex plot that if you're not paying attention and you don't like sit and focus about what's going on, you'll read 5 pages and be like, I know we have a mission, but I don't remember what the mission was. So that was my only complaint. Otherwise, I love the world, love the characters, adore the writing. The writing is phenomenal. And I really, like, that's it. My complaint is that it was a little hard to follow, but that's partially my fault. So now we can talk about it, right? Spoilers, go read it. Do I like it more than Six of Crows? I believe I do, because this book focuses more on the characters and their relationships, and they are all friends at this point, because in the first one, they're still figuring out who everybody is and how they fit in the group. And in this one, it's like, we're a team, we're together. Some of us are in pairs, but we're together, and it's good, and it's great. It's hard to say which one I struggled through more, because both of them gave me problems, and part of that is my fault, because I am not a very good payer attentioner. But also, I just, like, these plots are very complex because they are heist things, and it's in a fantasy world, and it's a very complex fantasy world. So if you're not on your A game, the book is going to be lower than what it actually is because your thoughts are meddling in. I don't know what I'm saying, I'm sorry. That being said, even though I did have problems and it took me a long time to get through this book, I highly enjoyed it. Like, I was surprised actually by how much I came away enjoying it, especially at the end. Like the last part, it was really good. It was really depressing. I had a moment, you know the moment, when we're not even gonna say it. When that moment happened, I had to take a good long break and just be like, I refuse this. This is not right. And then after that, everything got a little bit happier, and so I was a little bit happier, but really that one moment I was like, I'm out, bye. Let's talk about the characters, because honestly my favorite part of the series is the characters. The world is really cool, and it's an extension of the original, but I adore these characters, and I think that's what is so great about this series, because they're diverse, they're hilarious, they're all friends, and it's kind of another group dynamic book, like the Lunar Chronicles is an example of that, or honestly Throne of Glass and Akamath are great examples of that too, where you have a whole cast of characters and you just like can't pick a favorite because they all have their great qualities, you know? My favorite character honestly is Nina. If you didn't know, Nina is bae. She's awesome. I just, like, I love her, and I honestly like her and Matthias were like my favorite ship, so I hate you, Leigh, but it's fine, whatever. Part of the reason why I love Nina is because she is chubby and it's canon, and she loves eating, and she talks about waffles all the time, and like, all the waffle references I really appreciated, but honestly now I just want chicken and waffles, and I've never had chicken and waffles. Anyways, sidetrack. I love Nina and I love her character, and I really loved her development in this book because obviously she's coming off the addiction to Param, I think that's how you say it. And in this book, she's having trouble with her powers at the beginning. And finally, as she goes through, she figures out she can control dead people, basically. She's like a zombie Grisha. And she controls like dead bodies and bones and these creepy things. And I just loved that. And honestly, like one of my favorite things about this series is that I feel like it's a good bridge to whatever the next series in this world is, because Leigh has said that she will come back to it. She just doesn't think it'll be very soon because she has other projects. But like honestly, like I am excited to see what the next series in this world is going to be, because I think it could be even more kick-ass than this, and this is like hella kick-ass. But I love the extension of Nina's powers because it gives us an idea that this world isn't over. Like we have more we need to learn. There's so many different facets of magic that is not explained, and so I'm excited. I'm excited to see where it goes. I'm really hoping that Nina is in the next series because I love Nina. Chubby Nina is bae. She's wonderful and awesome. And Matthias, I was very hurt when he died. Like, we get the scene where he's shot, and you see the little guy shoots him, and you're like, okay, well, clearly they're gonna heal him, he's gonna be fine, it'll be great, and you kind of forget about it because you skip ahead to a different POV. And then finally you come back to Nina's POV, and you're like, where's Matthias? Come out, dude! And he comes, and then they kiss, and it's beautiful, and then he's like, JK, I'm actually dying, bye. And I was just so ticked off because they didn't do anything. Nina's like screaming for help, and Inez just like, let him go, man. Just let him go. My favorite part about that whole death, even though it was awful, is the payoff when they actually do get to like say goodbye to his body and like put him to rest and stuff. Because they all are like totally wrecked about it. Like Nina is the one who's crying, but all of them were like, we were supposed to make it out. Like all 6 of us were supposed to make it. We're invincible. We're awesome. Why did Matthias not make it out? And like they don't even get closure. Nobody knows why he died or how he died because he didn't tell them. And so you're stuck with this like knowledge that this little boy shot him, and they will never know. I'm kind of hoping that like in the next series, like maybe that kid will grow up and we'll get to see him and Nina will talk to, I don't know. Crazy theories. Yes, I loved how emotional everybody got about him because like they do care, even though he's this like crazy Fjordan guy who like kind of makes no sense in the group. In the end they're all like, my baby Matthias, same. But we're gonna move on because no time for tears, no mourners, no funerals. And then the next couple, which is my next favorite couple, is Wyman and Jesper, and they just blossomed so well in this book. I love it. I love it so much because you get hints in the beginning, and obviously you know it's going to grow into something. But in this book, you get all of the little beautiful blossoms of whatever they started as, the buds. I don't know the metaphor for that, but they just have these really brief moments where like Jesper will say something and Wylan will blush, or Wylan will say something and Jesper will be like, oh my gosh, I love you. And it's just so cute. Especially the scene where Jenna comes and she like detailers Wylan and turns him back into himself, and Jesper sees him again and he's like, I love him so much. It's just, oh, so cute. That whole scene, that whole everything. I love that ship so much. I love them. I love both of their backstories a lot, and I am really happy that we got Wylan chapters in this. I love to see him grow, to like figure out that his mom is like stuck in this asylum type place, and then eventually he like gets to bring her home. Ugh, he had so many great moments where you expected him to like break or anything, and he just comes out and he's like, yeah, Dad, I win. I got all your money. Suck on that, dude. Especially the scene at the end where Van Eyck is like, he can't even read, and Wylan's like, oh, can't I? And then he like reads the memorized thing, and he just like owns that whole room. I think aside from Nina and Matthias, my next favorite is definitely Wylan. He's just such a great character, and he's like a little puppy dog. I love him. I love Jesper's dad. I love that inclusion in this because I think it added first a layer of like emotional stuff that like you don't usually get in books, because you don't really see parent relationships at all. But like I loved how he was actually like involved in the plot and involved in the scheming, and like he came out and was like, Wylan, you're pretty good for my boy, like this is great. Like so cute. I love Colm. He was wonderful. So that brings us to our last two people, Kaz and Inej, which everybody loves. And I don't dislike them and don't hate them. They're not, like, I don't get that excited about them as I do about the other characters. But I really, really loved in this book that we get to explore their relationship a little bit more, and we get to see more of Kaz, like, inside his head about, like, we know the backstory of why he wears gloves, we know his cane story, we know, like, his backstory, period. But I think in this one you get more explanation, and you really get to see how his mental illness is, like, really destroying his life, honestly. Because obviously he is disabled with the cane, and, like, that's a problem. Like, he can't really walk steadily, and, you know, it's good we have disabled stuff. But I really, my favorite part about his character is his backstory and how much it has affected his life now. Like, he really likes Inej, but he can't do anything about it, because anytime he tries, he's like, dead bodies, skin freaks me out, like I can't handle this. And then in the end they hold hands, and I was just like, oh, this is everything I ever wanted. And Inej had a great story too, because she gets to face off against that assassin girl, and eventually she overcomes her and kills her. And then in the end, she gets to see her parents, and I was just, like, not ready for that moment. I was riding in the car with my parents, so I couldn't really full out fangirl, but in that moment, I was just like, oh my gosh, this is everything I wanted. It was so cute. The thing I do want to bring up, sexuality is a big thing in this book. Obviously, we have Jesper and Wylan, who are either gay or bi. You know, they're not straight. Nina... Actually, Leigh came out on Twitter, and I was following this little rant, and she said that Nina is not straight either. There's not enough on the page for her to be like, this is what she is, you know, like she's bi or she's pan or whatever. But she has not seen Nina as straight, and so that's an important thing to note, that Nina is not a straight character. Additionally, somebody got in a conversation with Leigh about asexuality in characters, and Leigh was even more on the fence about naming any of those, but she wasn't like, no, there are no asexual characters, but she was like, I can see it, but there's really no proof on the page, so she doesn't want to say that there's a representation that she can't back up in her own text, if that makes sense. One of my dear friends, Amanda from Lady Book Mad, she replied to that thread and was like, I've always seen Inej and Kaz as my asexual couple, and in that moment the world stopped, and I was like, yes to all! I know it's not really backed up, and Leigh kind of didn't want them to become asexual characters because of trauma, if that makes sense, and I understand where she's coming from, and I haven't had trauma, so I can't really say anything. Amanda has had trauma, and she said that she's not offended if they were asexual. Again, it's not backed up, and it is potentially caused by trauma, so take that as you will. But in my head now, every time I was reading them, Kaz and Inej are asexual, and you can't steer me wrong. Like, literally, that's all I see, is them being asexual. Because, like, Kaz especially, Inej, we get less of her, like, desires shown on paper, so it's harder to say with her. But honestly, with, like, Kaz, especially with his trauma, but, like, he seems to really want to like Inej, and he likes her, and he thinks she's, like, wonderful. But, like, anytime physical anything happens, he's just, like, not there. And so, honestly, in my head, like, I can see it, that they would be asexual, but I can understand her being like, okay, but they may be asexual because of trauma, and I don't really want to say that. So, anyways, if you want to discuss that in the comments, always down for asexual talk. So that was the thing that I was reading that I just, like, none of them are straight, except for Matthias. Matthias is very straight, but literally all of them are like, meh, meh, meh. So that was pretty great. Yeah, this book was different than the first one, because the first one, you know, you have the main heist, and it's kind of building up to that climactic, we're going into the ice court type thing. But this one, it was like they had a bunch of mini heists, and I never really knew what was happening. And then we got to the end, and they were, like, stuck in this hotel, and they're like, I'm gonna get us out of this mess with an auction. And I was like, what? Still, like, even though they revealed most of the plan, you still get moments at the end where they're like, by the way, did you know I did this in the background? Mwahaha. And you're like, what the heck, Kaz? I had no idea this was happening. It was still, like, so good, because she didn't just let it become like, we're gonna go through the heist and, like, we're gonna have a great time and there's not gonna be any problems. Great. Like, I felt like every time we got close to something, there would be a problem, or somebody would get taken, or somebody would get attacked, or there would be a new assassin, or, like, there were so many things that just stopped the plot, and I liked that. I liked that we didn't have a perfect perfect scenario, but also it made it very confusing because I had no idea what heist we were on, what we were trying to do. Like, it just, none of it made sense to me. Yeah, so that was like my only complaint, is I had problems with that, and it was just like a hard, long book to get through. It's hard to get into the Grisha books for some reason for me. Like, starting out, Six of Crows, I had problems with this. Shadow and Bone, I had problems with this. Like, the beginning, it's just hard to orient yourself in that world because it is very specific. Oh my gosh, I forgot to talk about the best part of this book. Who am I? The best part of Crooked Kingdom, honestly, was the characters that came back from the previous series. Can we just, like, oh my gosh, I freaked out when we had Zoya show up on the page. I was like, are you freaking kidding me? This is the best day of my life. And that was great. And then we get Jenna, and I was like, no, please stop. This is too much for me right now. I can't handle it. Like, there's this one line, I don't even remember who was talking about it, but they brought up Alina, and they were like, she was the greatest Grisha ever. And I could tell in their heads, they were like, she's still alive, I love her. However, the really funny thing about this book is that, so I'm reading it, and we obviously have the trio. We have Jenna, Zoya, and Stormwind. I haven't read the Grisha trilogy in about 2 years. I first read it and only read it 2014, October. So it actually is like my Grisha anniversary coming up, but it's been 2 years, and so I literally forgot everything that happened in that series and most of the characters, except for Jenna and Zoya, and of course Nikolai. And so I'm reading this, and I totally forgot who he was, like 100% forgot. And so Leigh brought up his name at the signing, and I was like, I don't remember who this guy is. Who is he? What's happening? And so then he popped up again in Crooked Kingdom, and I was like, what the heck? Who is this guy? Like, I've read about him. I read the series. I'm not stupid. Who the heck is he? And I Googled it, and then I just, like, collapsed. I was like, I'm so hurt. Like, how could I forget? Tears of happiness. So excited. Like, I love Nikolai. He is my bae. I honestly just, like, love him so much. But it was so cool to see him interact with Kaz and Inej and all of them. Especially the scene where Kaz and him are, like, aside and they're talking. And they have the conversation, and they don't technically say that it's Nikolai, but they're just like, hypothetically, you know, this king, he might want to be a privateer. And one of my favorite lines of the whole book is Kaz, and he comments back, and he's like, so hypothetically, you could also be called Your Majesty. And he was like, yeah. I'm really hoping that if/when we get the next series, whatever it may be, we get like all of these characters, and maybe there's like a new cast of characters that we get to meet or something. But it was just so great. So great to see all of them come back. Now I'm even more surprised at the people who have read Six of Crows but not the original trilogy, because I'm like, how do you know what's going on? Like, literally, how do you know what's going on? So most of this review has just been me fangirling about characters in Leigh Bardugo. Totally typical. That's what this series was for me. I really liked it. I thought it was great. It's probably not my favorite book of the year, so don't kill me, because I know that's the way for some people. But I really enjoyed it, and I hope you enjoyed it too. Let me know your favorite character, your favorite chip, and your favorite moment in the comments, because if you're crying over Matthias, I am too. It's fine. So thank you for watching, and I will talk to you again soon. Bye!